This episode is a special one for me. And one of the reasons why is because I get to interview one of my childhood friends. The person we're interviewing today was someone that I grew up with all through elementary school, junior high, high school, riding BMX bikes, just having fun as kids. And we both ended up starting businesses. And actually, a couple of our friends that we all grew up with ended up starting businesses. And I ran into him the other day. We kind of lost touch over the years. And we were kind of catching up as I ran into him in this restaurant and he's telling me about his business. But what caught my attention wasn't the fact that they have done over $1 million in sales in a single year. It was the fact that he lives his life on his terms the way he wants to. He works 2 days a week and has 5 days out of the week to spend doing whatever he wants to do. So not only did he build a business, but he built it around his lifestyle. And I can't wait to dive into this episode and pull out all of the little elements for you and tell his journey so that you can do the same thing. So if that's interesting to you, well, keep on listening. Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm really excited about today's episode because it's an interview episode and I get to interview one of my good buddies from childhood. And I ran into this person randomly at a restaurant when we were on the way to, I don't know, somewhere with my family. I think we we're going to the aquarium or something. And he started telling me about his business and what his life is like today. And I get in the car and I tell my wife, Jacqueline, I'm like, we need to get Matt on the podcast. And today we made it possible. So Matt, welcome, man.
Thanks, man.
Glad you're here. Before we get started into your story, can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you guys do?
Name is Matt Ardito, and I have a company called Macro Meals, and we are a home delivered prepared meal business. We do portion prepared ready to eat meals, and we have a delivery area about 50 mile radius. And so we just, we serve, ready to eat meals that are packaged and
ready to go.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've seen you build this business over the last couple of years, and it's been really interesting seeing what has happened during COVID. And I know before the podcast, you said you guys have experienced a lot of growth during COVID. I want to get into the story of how you started this, and we will get there. And I'm really excited for you to tell the audience and have them hear that journey. But my first question to you is more about our childhood. And we were talking before the podcast, and we talked a lot about how a lot of the people we grew up with are now entrepreneurs and business owners. And one of the things that I talked about beforehand was I think that the reason why that happened is because a lot of us, I wouldn't say we're like straight A students who were quote unquote indoctrinated, that may be too harsh or intense of a word, into the educational system. But we were more of what you said, like free thinkers. We were able to think outside the box. Do you think that skill set has been able to help you start your business and businesses over the years?
I think thinking back to our childhood of like BMX and, hitting these jumps, we've always kind of been risk takers.
Yeah.
And definitely the school system was not something that I excelled at.
How far did you go in the education system?
I am a high school graduate.
Okay. Did you ever go to college at all?
I went to a local community college.
Okay.
I attempted 5 times, and my last time I actually did the online courses, which was fairly recent ago. It was maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
I actually got straight A's.
Oh, you did?
And then I tried one more, and I overloaded myself, and it was just,
Okay. I'm like sitting here going, but we weren't straight A students. You're like,
I wasn't.
I was.
Call
it, or in the college you were.
I learned how to apply myself, and
okay.
We had a friend, Jason Kelly, who was very doctrinated, and he was, a great student. And I always told him that if I wanted to get straight A's, I could.
Yeah.
And he would always laugh at me and said, well, if you could, you would.
Yeah.
But I never wanted it bad enough.
Yeah.
And I have found now, through my adult life, that really anything that I do want, I can get.
Yeah.
It's just how bad do I want it? How much am I willing to sacrifice and put into it?
I don't like Jason's advice. There's so many things we could do that we just don't do. If you could do something, doesn't mean you have to go do it or necessarily have the drive to go do it.
Sure.
But yeah, Jason, it's kind of interesting bringing him up because he was very kind of like in that system and following the traditional, like, I'm going to go to college, get a degree, I'm going to save every single dollar. And he did that for a lot of years. And he finally just bought his first business. So he didn't start it, but he actually invested. You remember his buddy, Matt, his roommate, Matt from college? I don't know if you ever met him.
I don't.
He roomed up with another Matt who ended up starting his own architecture firm.
Okay.
And Jason actually bought half of it and invested, and they're now partners. So Jason is now a business owner,
That's
which
awesome.
blows my mind.
I think has that been something he's been working on for years, right? Because I know he was with SCE, and then I think at the same time we had like maybe that going.
Yeah. And so he
awesome,
he went what I would call the slow path. There's no right or wrong here. It's just a different path for me. And I think you're very much the same way. I'm like, let's just do it now. Like, I just want to go now and get started. I'm just going to learn on the way on the journey. I'm going to learn on the way up.
Yep.
And I know you've started a lot of businesses. So what was the first business that you started? I know you've kind of, actually, let me go back. Where was the first time you realized that you were like, I want to be a business owner? What was your first exposure to business?
So one of my first jobs, I worked for a CPA, and so I got to work with lots of different businesses, and like on the back end, and see their accounts and bookkeeping, and there's a lot of businesses that we had that like struggled, and I always felt that I had this niche to like go in and like help struggling businesses.
Yeah.
And, I was probably like 17 years old, just kind of dreaming about like an opportunity to, take a business and just make it amazing. Right. And, I think it's about that point that I realized that, I didn't want a desk job.
Right.
Didn't want to sit behind a desk and have a boss. I really wanted to, work for myself and have something that I grew, organically and, be proud of.
I was the same way. I'm like, to me, that was the death. The death was sitting behind a desk, 9 to 5, having 2 weeks a year to myself. And that's, I worked for my dad, and I was like, I don't know, maybe 23, 24 years old. And I was making $70,000 a year back then.
Just
that was great money. Yeah. Especially at that age. And even today, it's still good money for that age. And I remember sitting there thinking, and it was with my dad. It was like the chillest job in the world. And thinking, I only have 2 weeks a year to myself for the next 40 years. I'm like, that's bullshit. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to do that. And so it didn't take but the comfortability is what kept me there. And then my dad's company went under, and then I was forced to go start something. And I think a lot of people get really, really scared and caught up in that fear. Is that something you've had to deal with and battle over the years?
A little bit, with my current business, Macro Meals, I started it alongside personal training. I was a personal trainer for 12 years, which really kind of led me into owning Macro Meals. I had a great client base and lots of trainer friends, and I knew a lot of people in the gym industry. I don't want to say it came naturally, but it came easier. I had the contacts, and I didn't even really know it when it was happening.
I kind of want to go back to your first company, because I remember you telling me a little bit about the very first company you started, which was Envious Events,
yeah.
And I remember you mentioning something. You guys invested about $18,000 into it. Is that correct?
No, that was like what we wrote off at the end.
Okay.
We lost.
Oh, you lost $18,000.
Yeah.
So how much did you guys invest into it?
I honestly, 18 plus, I'd have to just make a wild guess and say maybe another 30,000.
Wow. Okay.
That we threw away.
I want to talk about the story of that, and we'll just kind of go from that point up to where you are now. But I still want to kind of talk about the mindset that you guys had, because most people, when starting something like that, would never just be like, hey, I'm going to go and put 30,000 into this. And knowing you're an incredibly positive guy. You've always been like that since I've known you. And my guess is you probably were focusing more on what you could potentially make versus what you could lose. I mean, would you agree to that or not really?
It's hard to say at that time. Envious Events was a party tour business that me and a buddy started, to get people to Las Vegas and, give them this really VIP experience. And it started because we had a large group of friends. We had about 50 of us, and we were all trying to go to Vegas at the same time. And we found that trying to book hotel rooms there and get a group discount when you're a nobody was very challenging.
Right.
So that's where Envious Events came from. We, we wanted to be able to get the discounts. And so through kind of starting this, we realized like there could be a lot more to this than just selling, tickets to our friends to go to Vegas and party, that we can make this like a monthly or maybe even a weekly trip, and book buses and book hotels.
Okay.
And, but it kind of ended with our first trip.
Yeah. Break down the numbers for me. So what did everyone get on that first trip? Like what did a trip look like?
It was 2 nights at the Hard Rock Hotel in Las Vegas. And we had a charter bus that took us up there. Beautiful bus, had a bathroom in it. So we took that up. We had the whole bus stocked with booze for everybody to make sure that they can start their party the second they got on it.
Yep.
And 2 nights at the Hard Rock. Back in the day, the rehab pool party was kind of the first of its kind.
I remember those. Those were huge.
They were big. And they even had I think it was on MTV, but there was
did?
the rehab. There was a show. It was like what do you call it? Like the
Like a reality show or something?
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Yeah. It was a reality show. And so we did the rehab pool party. We got a cabana, all drinks included. We had food. And then rehab had the Body English nightclub. And so we got a table there and all alcohol included. And then your bus ride home. You got all that for $375.
It's just insane. Like, I don't even think you can get a hotel there for one night for that price now.
No.
I mean, it's a different
world right now. Yeah. Inflation's kind of screwed everything up. But even back in those days, and this is back in 2008.
Yeah.
That we did this. So
it's still a deal and a half. Everything.
Oh yeah. I look back now. If you were to rent a car and drive to Vegas or, just transportation to Vegas, would cost you that there and back. So, especially with gas prices right now.
Oh yeah.
Just driving there and back,
insane.
You're probably spending a couple $100.
So obviously you guys ran that as a loss on the first one. Was that a surprise? Did you guys look at the numbers very detailed beforehand?
We had a dream and the dream, big scale was lots of trips and tours. And, I think we failed at like the marketing aspect and we really didn't know how to like bring it out and get this in front of people. And at the time we were club promoters, for a few local clubs. And so we really tried to like advertise there. And, that was kind of our crowd. People anybody who's going to a bar and a club, they're the ones that we want on our trip because that's the crowd. So we just didn't push it. I think we failed. We could have done a better job just kind of promoting our trip instead of just really focusing on promoting these clubs and making them money.
Right.
And I think that was the downfall. By the time we got on this trip, it was planned for 56 people to make a little bit of money. So our first one, a lot of friends. We weren't trying to like really profit on this.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is why it was such a deal. But we shouldn't have lost.
Right.
And by the time the trip came, instead of having 56, we had about 35 people.
Okay.
And so last minute, we just tried to fill the bus full of girls. We did a decent job at the end. We got some girls in there.
Yeah.
That's how I met my wife. She was invited through a friend of a friend. And so I met her on the bus. So it wasn't a complete loss.
Yeah.
She never even paid.
She didn't?
Yeah, she never even paid. We actually, at the end, it was $75. $75 was what we were charging at the end for just to get some girls on the bus and make this trip just fun. And yeah, she never even paid the $75. She still owes it to me. Every once in a while, I'll bring it up.
Go home, collect your $75. That's amazing though. Small price to pay for meeting your life partner and
definitely
starting a beautiful life. So that's awesome. So it sounds like you guys priced it to kind of break even, but you couldn't fill it up, which kind of put you at a loss.
Yeah, put us at a big.
And then when you got back from that trip, what was the conversation like to basically dissolve that? I mean, what did you guys do and talk about?
So, we got back and there was lots of debt. And so we continued the club promo, just to try to make, literally we were making maybe $500 on a really good busy night at a club. And so it was a slow go at kind of, putting money back in the account and paying the people we owed money to. And, and then just trying to get money back in our pockets from everything we put in. And at the end of the day, we went writing off $18,000 was kind of the loss we had.
Okay.
back being 24 years old, that was a lot of money.
Yeah. Still is a lot of money.
Certainly. Yeah. If someone was going to hand me 18 grand, I would gladly accept it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's, but live and learn. And it was a learning experience on kind of what not to do. And
what were some of the things you would if you were to do it again that you wouldn't
have
do?
more of a plan? We kind of jumped into this. That's funny because my current business, there was not much of a plan, but so I'm not a really good planner, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Either.
But yeah, I think it's really good to have a plan and maybe not have all your numbers crunched, but a really good idea about who you're marketing to and how you're going to do that.
Yeah.
And, you can have the best idea in the world, but if you can't bring it out and show people and tell people, where's it going to go?
I tell people that all the time. It's like you see crappy products and programs and services being sold all the time that people are amazing marketers and salesmen and stuff like that. And you see great products and great whatever just going out of business all the time because they don't know how to actually market and sell.
Get in front of people, yeah.
And I tell people, and I know you mentioned it earlier, is like, these are businesses and businesses are here to profit. That's literally why a business exists.
Sure.
And if you don't want to do that, then go start a nonprofit. But understanding
and even nonprofits profit.
Yeah, that's true. They just pay the taxes.
Exactly.
And so that's the whole point of it. And if you don't know how you're going to sell, and you don't know what your revenue is, how you're going to make your revenue, you're going to be at a major battle trying to start a business. And so that makes a lot of sense. Where did you guys go, or where did you go from there? Did you and Don, your business partner, separate?
Yeah, just kind of separated. He wound up actually moving away to Arizona. So we kind of lost touch for the most part, but I think he has started another business from my understanding.
Okay.
And he's I think doing pretty well for himself.
Okay.
But yeah, that kind of just went away. And while we had MBS, I was still with the accountant. And I decided I had had enough of the 9-to-5 office environment, so I left that for to be a personal trainer, which sounded super glorious when I started it. And I got in there and realized I had got myself into a sales gig. Yeah. And it wasn't really about helping people; it was about selling personal training sessions.
So they had the selling part of it down, but you weren't really doing what you waned to do. Just
that wasn't the focus. And I worked for a gym franchise that there was all about the dollar. And we got punished if we didn't get sales.
Seriously?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got punished. I had to work for free at the front desk to try to book introductory personal training sessions.
Oh my gosh.
And I actually wound up getting fired because I just had enough with the harassment of booking those sessions and of really just the dollars. And, I went in there really I loved kind of the health and fitness world and the gym. And, I was a gym rat. I loved to be in the gym and lift weights and train people and help people, understand how to do it. And that was why I started that. That's why I left the accounting world for it. And it just wasn't the idea there. I lasted there for about a year and a half. Okay. I built a decent clientele there and thought that I could leave there and go private and they'd all come with me.
Yeah.
And I had 30 clients and 3 came with me.
Oh,
so that was kind of a scary experience. That was really, I guess, my second business.
Starting off as a personal trainer was the idea there to eventually start your own thing, or you're more of like, hey, I have the flexibility to kind of do what I want and make a living?
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, I don't, at that point, I don't know if I had the idea. I didn't. I had the idea to kind of just go to the gym, and wasn't really sure where it was going to take me.
Right.
But I knew that I loved it. I was super passionate about it and I knew I'd have a good time. So that was why I started to pursue that, but with no end goal, or tier, it was kind of just work up the tiers of that, franchise. And, but yeah, that lasted a year and a half. And then I started crunching numbers on how much money I could make as a personal trainer, privately.
Yeah.
And I was like, what am I doing?
Right.
And I actually started to tell all the other trainers how much money they could make.
I'm sure they hated you.
Yeah, no,
that gym.
I got kicked out of the gym. They threatened to sue me.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, because if you take any of your clientele right? Like they
Oh
feel they
my
own those
gosh.
clients. And
Wow. Did you sign any like paperwork or contracts with them
I think there was
beforehand?
something there, but there was nothing they could do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty free world, you
Yeah.
know, and
And
if
probably the cost of going after you for 3 clients is
it's not
not
worth
worth
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it pretty bad there. I'm actually still friends with the fitness manager.
Okay.
And really good dude, taught me a lot. And yeah, I can actually remember envious events happening at that point still too, because
Oh,
he was
okay.
totally excited about it. Really good guy.
Yeah.
Kind of a tangent, but yeah.
So where'd you go from there when you went off onto the person, like you're doing it yourself now? And how old were you about around this time?
I'd say 25.
Okay. So you went off on your own. How did that pan out?
It was kind of a slow building process.
Okay.
At this point, my wife and I were living together, and so we were able to share living expenses, which was a blessing because
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to afford it on my own. I remember my first paycheck from Gold's Gym being $18.
$18.
That was the gym franchise. Yeah.
Oh my
$18. And it was
gosh.
like one day, and I was on unemployment while I was like studying for all this stuff. And
Right.
I wanted getting myself into trouble with the unemployment department because I had collected one extra check
Oh my gosh.
while collecting $18.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
I needed another check. I made $18. So, yeah, fast forward. So I went private, and it was kind of a slow building process, but, my first full year at, the franchise, I made $26,000.
Wow.
My first year as a private personal trainer, I made $52,000.
Wow. So it's like
And
double.
yeah, it literally doubled. And then within another year, I cleared 6 figures.
Geez, seriously?
And yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I was billing between, my lowest paying client was like $60. My highest paying client was around 100. And
Okay.
at the
Go ahead.
peak, I was doing 56 sessions a week.
Okay. That was my question, is what did that business look like? Because it sounds like 56 sessions sounds like a lot to
It's
me.
a ton.
It is. Okay.
Because let me tell you, you don't like I left a 9 to 5 job because I wanted to work for myself. Right. I mean, that was kind of like the idea, I guess, down the road. And, I worked way more than that. And the hours of a personal trainer, you're really busy in the morning, afternoon, early afternoon, there's no one to train.
Right.
And then you're busy again, maybe starting from 3. So like I would work from 6 to noon, and then I would work from like 3 to 9.
So it's like all day.
All day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked from 6 to, I wouldn't get home till 10 o'clock at night.
Oh my
And,
gosh. And were those one-on-one sessions you're doing?
all
or
one-on-one
group?
sessions. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I mean, like a great day was like 13 sessions. Slow day was 8.
Wow. Okay.
And I did that 5 days a week. And then on Saturday, I would still pick up, 4 or 5 in the morning, and
Okay.
then, take Sunday off. And I did that for like 10 years privately.
Wow. Okay.
And
were you doing that grind the whole time for 10 years?
it was a build.
Okay.
It was a build to get to those numbers. And it was always this, right? It's like,
Up and down. Yeah.
kind of with any business, there's always your high peaks and your lows. And so, you have seasons for it.
Right.
Right now, actually, I was talking to a personal trainer this morning that I feed, and he helps me with business, and I try to send him referrals. And
Right.
we're both kind of heading into a slow season, which
Yeah.
you would think summer, everyone's trying to like get fit.
But they're probably
Personal
out
trainers would
traveling
be
and stuff.
busy. Exactly. So a lot of travel, people, summertime hits, and so, yeah, personal training dips. And, there was times when, I mean, I had more clients I knew to do it, and I had to tell them, sorry, can't take you right now.
Right.
And then there was times I was out hustling in the mall,
Right.
trying to look for people that looked like they might need a personal trainer.
Oh
and
my gosh, you're like constantly on the hunt versus
always,
fulfilling.
it was a constant hustle. It was the worst part about the job,
Yeah.
was just maintaining the business, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that come in, they scrounge up all their money to buy one package, and that's it. Never see them again. And
it's like a turn and burn.
yeah, it's hard to find people that can afford that lifestyle.
Yeah. So how come you did it for so long?
It was income.
Okay.
Yeah. And I loved it. I mean, gosh, I'd go to the gym and hang out with like 6 of my buddies, and then really most of my clients turned into friends. And so, while training and helping people get to their, best potential, I was just
So
hanging
it's kind
with
of your
friends.
life. Like you were doing your own stuff lifting, getting in shape, and working with people, and
Yeah.
just they all became friends. So it's
Yeah,
just,
I got to hang out in the gym all day with friends,
I love it.
and that was what kept me there so long.
So what did I know you got into bodybuilding at what point? At some point, right?
Yeah, early
Was
on.
it during
I
all
mean,
that?
pre personal training,
Okay.
right? Pre all that, because I mean that was kind of what built my passion to become one. You know, I was always a pretty small guy, and I've kind of turned back into one. But I graduated high school at 130 pounds, and I mean, you remember, I was always like the smallest guy.
Yeah, and we ran cross country together. So
Yeah.
it's like cross country
I was
runners
tiny.
are small. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
I was tiny, and so I think, you know, having that, I always had the idea of like, you know, well, if I can't get taller, maybe I can get wider and,
Right.
you know, just grow and be super muscular. So, you know, I started developing a passion for bodybuilding. I competed 4 different times, and through, you know, all that, gosh, I mean, I learned a ton about nutrition. I'm just 100% self-taught with all that, and
Right.
you know, on what to eat, and, you know, how to diet, and how to get down to, you know, 4% body fat. And, yeah, I did it so many times. And then I started helping friends and, you know, personal trainer buddies and clients do it. Which kind of led me into the Macro Meals business.
That's what I was going to say. That's actually what I'm writing down right now, is that it sounds like this 10-year journey, you were actually, without knowing it, learning the skills and the knowledge and the knowing of what you needed for the next phase of your life, which is starting Macro Meals.
Yeah, I had no idea.
The nutrition and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
that's something I tell our listeners all the time, is you just never know where you're going to end up in your path. And what you think you want to start probably isn't going to be what you're going to end up with. What you start with will never be what you end up with, but you have to get started in order to get there. You just have to like experience the journey, live the journey, go through the journey, and just let things happen. But so many people just like stop in their tracks. They're just so fearful of making a mistake, of things falling apart. Did you ever have any of those fears during that journey of building up that business, of making mistakes or avoiding mistakes?
With personal training or with Macro Meals?
Well, I guess with both, but
I think it was always, you know, it's just really, I'm just trying to remember fear.
Yeah.
And the only fear that I can think of is really just the feeling of not being able to provide.
right.
And it was the fear of like the business failing and not being able to like pay my bills and take care of my family. And, you know, at that time it was, you know, I guess, well, Macro Meals, family, personal training, wife, you know, just not being able to provide, not being able to be, you know, the man that I felt I needed to be. And, so it's certainly fear with that.
Well, the fact that you have to like think about when you were in fear is a pretty good sign you probably didn't have much of it.
You know, I think I tend to block. I don't know about you. I have more than one kid because I forgot how bad it was with the first one. I tend to block that stuff out.
Yeah.
And it's you know, all that stuff, like I don't know, I block the bad out. And I've blocked out a lot of the bad out with building Macro Meals and how much of a struggle it was.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, man, I was in tears, like just working so much. There are times I would, you know, there was, you know, in the beginning, I was subleasing kitchen space. And so, you know, the hours that I could get into these kitchens were like not really good for me, but it was good for them. I would start in there at 4:00, you know, at night, and I wouldn't get done till 12:00, you know, at night.
Brutal.
Things would go into the refrigerator. By the time I would clean up the kitchen, it was time to deliver, you know, but from 8:00 in the morning to 4:00, I was a personal trainer. Then I'm going to the kitchen to cook. And then I'm now a delivery driver. And then I'm back to the gym to go train clients. Did you have
kids during all that time too?
I did,
no?
yeah.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, I remember when we first started was when we had Will. And I remember thinking the exact same thing you did. Like, how am I going to provide for my family? We were living with my in-laws back then. We couldn't even afford rent. And I remember same thing, being in tears, like walking on the beach, just going like, what am I doing? How am I going to do this?
Yeah, how long can you continue at that pace?
Long, yeah, exactly. And especially with having, you know, kids, is like you're up all night long with kids, and then you got to go work and you have to do all that stuff. It's tough. At what point did you realize, hey, I'm going to go do this Macro Meal thing? Was there a moment where you're just like,
you know, for a long time, it was really a side hustle.
Okay.
And it kind of really worked well with the personal training world because feeding all these trainers and the trainers' clients and members of the gyms. And
But was it like a slow introductory thing that you started
definitely,
doing?
yeah,
Okay.
because it was never like I never saw a big picture on like where this could go.
Right.
And I don't know, can I plug a book?
Yeah.
Okay. So I read this book called The Fastlane Millionaire.
Oh, I love that
Have
book.
you heard it?
Yeah.
Oh man, Slow Lane, Sidewalk. Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
I was given this book by a really good friend of mine, Vince McGuire. The guy is, he's my accountant now. He's a great guy. I met him at the accounting office that I worked for
Okay.
a long time ago. It's always, this guy, he does Audible now, and
Okay.
he does over 100 Audibles a year. Like,
Yeah.
so gives me this book. It was actually a paper book. Read
Yeah.
this thing, and it talked about, getting into the fast lane. And the fast lane was really this entrepreneurial lifestyle of, you can't really sell time.
Yeah.
If you're going to sell time, you've got to be somebody, like LeBron James is really selling time, being a basketball player, or actors, or Tony Robbins, can get on a mic and make tons of money. But there's a really small percentage of people that can do that.
Right.
And, if you're not that person, you have to sell units.
Right.
And so I got in this, this idea of like, all right, I need to sell units. What is going to be my product? And at the beginning of Macro Meals, it was really my wife. I was super busy in the personal training world, didn't really want anything to do with it. The last thing I wanted to do was come home and cook.
Yeah.
And so I got drug into it when
Yeah.
things started becoming a little bit busier. And
So she was the driving force behind it in the beginning. it sounds
definitely
like?
she was
Okay.
home. She was home with the kids.
Okay.
And I think we had my first one and maybe one on the way.
Okay.
And so, yeah, she was home. And so I said, hey, my buddy Mike wants food. Do you want to cook for him? He'll pay you. She's like, sure, I'm at home. Like, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And so then, it went from Mike to this guy, Mark. And then this, it just kind of,
Yeah.
this one person told the next. And, next thing you know, we're cooking for like 15 people out of our house. And we're like, whoa, all right, well, hey, we just moved into a new house. We're beating up our kitchen. Like, either we need to like stop this because it's really time consuming and we're like destroying our home, or let's like see about taking this next level.
Right.
It was about the same time I was reading Fastlane Millionaire, and I realized my units was right in front of me the whole time. And literally, I would beat myself to death at night just trying to think of like some fitness product, because that was my life, right?
Yeah.
It was fitness, and I was like, always trying to think of like products, and the whole time there was meals and there was units right there. And once I saw it, it was like boom.
Yeah.
And I had to have a discussion with my wife, because at the time, it was her hustle,
Right.
and I would bring the food to the gym. I would jam it in all these little mini fridges we had there. The customers would come there and pick it up,
Yeah.
and they would either Venmo or leave me cash, and I would bring it back to my wife.
Yeah.
That was it. I
You're
was
like
just
the delivery guy.
I was a delivery guy,
Yeah.
but I didn't even get paid for it. It was
Yeah.
her money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the early days, it was all hers. And so I told her, I was like, hey, like I had this vision,
Yeah.
but I want half. And she's
Mm.
like, no way. I was like, okay, well, I'm not helping you.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And so I think maybe a week went by, and then she came back. She's like, all right, I'll give you half. It's like,
Yeah.
all right. So we started looking for a kitchen and found a kitchen close by that would rent us space. And then, man, it's just kind of,
Well, I'm going to go back to
Yeah.
the conversation because that's just, so you guys are married.
Yeah, we're totally married. Yeah.
And like, it's just, if anything ever happened, it would have been half of yours anyway.
100%. So I don't know how your upbringing was with your parents financially.
They never talked about finance with us.
Yeah. So like mine didn't really talk about it either, but my dad was kind of the breadwinner. My mom worked, and then she didn't, and then she had kids, and then she like worked for the school. She was like a crossing guard.
Right.
So of course she's not paying her own bills.
Right.
I don't know if the money she made was hers or if it just went into the pot.
Right.
On her side, it was very separate.
Mm.
Her dad made money.
Her
He
mom
paid the
did,
bills. He took care of the house and the family and the vacations, and whatever mom made was mom's.
Right.
Mom got to shop, and mom got to, I think actually her mom, I think, paid for like food
Yeah.
for the house and stuff. And so when we first got together, that was like,
How
she
you guys did
adopted
it.
that.
Yeah.
And so, at the very beginning, we split rent, but once we got into a house with a mortgage, it was mine.
Yeah.
I paid the mortgage. I paid the bill, utilities.
Right.
And, eventually I took over her phone, and then I took over her car, and I took over all these bills. And so, then once we had kids, she didn't have a job at all.
Yeah.
So I paid everything.
So much
my wife
pressure,
loves
too.
designer stuff and expensive things.
Oh, yeah,
And
mine
so,
too.
yeah. So, you know, when she could make enough money to just support that habit, I
Yeah.
was okay with it.
Yeah.
Like you leave this pot alone. You spend your pot
Yeah.
on whatever you want. I don't care. Just don't touch this.
Yeah.
And so that would, we did that for a long time.
Okay.
Until, you know, business got good enough to where it was like, okay, you know, we now have a salary. As long as we spend within the salary, we're
Right.
okay. So we have a budget
Okay.
and all that.
That makes sense. Yeah. And that's the thing with, you know, finance and relationships, just whatever works for you guys is what you should be doing. And so with Jacqueline, I would do something. Well, she doesn't work. She's a stay-at-home mom. So it is very much like I just pay for everything. It's just
Sure.
one pot. And
Now, do you give her some sort of allowance or
no, I just let her spend whatever
she just
wants to
spends,
spend.
yeah.
And then she spends too much. Then I'm like, hey,
knock it off.
tone it down. But she actually wants to start a business.
Okay.
And so when we're moving to Arizona in like I don't know, a couple weeks, and we actually have a plan of starting a couple businesses. And her first thing was, she said, it's like, when I start my business, that's going to be my money. And then I said, okay, great. Well, then my business, which is paying for everything, will be my money and we can split the bills. And she's like, well, maybe not. It's like, that's what I thought. We just put it all in one pot. But, okay, well, let's talk about that journey of starting it. So you guys made the decision like, hey, we're going full force into this. It sounds like you started to sublease a kitchen. Is that correct?
Yeah, we were subletting a kitchen and, you know, had these really terrible hours that we could be there. The owner of this kitchen was, you know, the man, God bless him, because he gave us this opportunity, but he was like the most challenging person to like work around. We'd show up and they would still be there. You know, we weren't allowed in for another couple hours, you know, always trying to switch our days. You know, this guy had 5,000 square feet of kitchen space,
Jeez.
which is massive.
That's huge. Yeah.
I had to fight for a shelf.
Oh my gosh.
He had 4 refrigerators, big walk-in, 10 by 10, maybe bigger than that. No, they're probably about, yeah, maybe 8 by 10 refrigerators. I got like 1 rack in one.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just a challenge. It was a real challenge to like, you know, work around this guy. He was in his 70s.
What did he do?
Catering.
Okay.
Yeah, catering and big
sense.
parties and so he built a really good name for himself and just
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was, I mean, blessed to have been there.
Right.
But yeah, you know, basically we started to get big enough to where I had like, you know, 5 people working for me, coming in, helping prepare all these meals. And he walked in one day and looked around, was like,
too big.
Yeah, too big. He's like, you know, you came in here, it was you and your wife, and you had like one lady helping you. He's like, this is too much. You know, he wanted like a huge sum of money to like continue going. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look for somewhere else. He wanted us to leave.
Yeah.
And he was very nice about it at the end and kind of let us take our time. And so there was a on the other, in this next business plaza, there was a catering kitchen there. And so I walked in one day and was just like, hey, you know, are you guys interested in subletting? And they're like, oh my God, yes. Like, please. And basically they were a very struggling catering business.
Just needed some stable
and they
income.
needed help paying bills. So it worked out wonderfully. I walked in there and kind of got the hours that I really wanted the whole time.
Yeah.
And so worked around. There was 3 of us in there at the time. There was like this pizza guy, and then they were like
3 separate companies working from the same.
Yeah.
Dang, okay.
And so we made it work. You know, everyone kind of worked around each other. It was a little bit crazy. It was I called it the Wild West.
Yeah.
The owners of the kitchen were not ever there.
Okay.
So there were 3 of us kind of subletting, and it certainly was like the Wild West, but we made it work. And then eventually, November of 2020, I bought the kitchen from them.
Whoa, really?
And yeah,
that's awesome.
And I had to use a straw guy because they didn't want to sell me the business, or they didn't want to sell me the kitchen.
Okay.
Or they did, but it was for a lot of money.
What's a straw guy?
A friend.
Okay.
Yeah. So instead of it, so I started negotiating this kitchen with the owner, and he was like, his number was $160,000.
Right.
And I don't know if you know anything about commercial spaces and build outs.
Yeah.
You don't own it.
Right.
Once you put something into a kitchen that is attached, it's no longer yours. Yeah. It's the owner of the property.
But people don't realize, because we had an office for a lot of years, and until COVID hit, we shut it all down. But renting commercial space is completely different than residential. It's a totally different game. And so you like you said, if you do a build out, like basically the owner of the company gets to keep that build out, right?
Yeah.
Unless you remove it when you move out.
Yeah, but you have to put it back to exactly the way you
that's
got
right.
it.
Shit.
So
Actually, you're right, because when we moved out of our office, we tore down a wall because we bought 2 units.
okay.
And then they made me put the wall back up.
Oh yeah.
I was
yeah.
like, are you kidding me? This is so much better this way.
Right? No, not for them.
Yeah.
Right. They're like 1 space at $7,000 or 2 spaces at 5 each.
Yeah, exactly.
So, their number was just incredibly big for really what I was buying.
Right.
Equipment wise, there was like, $25,000 worth of equipment that I could unplug and drag out of that kitchen.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not spending $160,000 for, $25,000 worth of equipment.
Right.
And I just couldn't wrap my head around a 150. But at the same time, I'm like, I need this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to sublease again. Like, I hated it. I finally had the opportunity to get in my own space. I had lost an opportunity, like a year before that, with a different catering kitchen. I just didn't jump fast enough and scared, and just really probably wasn't ready, financially to take on that.
Right.
But this time I was, and
this is 2020, you said?
This is in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, where business for us was really good.
Okay.
A lot of people were stuck home.
Right.
Food got a little bit scarce on shelves and stores, and it actually changed my business model completely. Okay. I was doing a lot of the shopping on my own.
Okay.
And then, Costco and a lot of these places that I was shopping at no longer carried the foods that I needed. And so I was forced into the restaurant distribution world, which was, the best thing ever. I now have, companies that I can order from, and they hand deliver it to my kitchen. They have the code to my kitchen. They roll it in my refrigerator. I don't have to be there. I get wholesale pricing.
Yeah.
To give you an example, I pay way more than this now. It's depressing, but back in the day, I was buying chicken just like you would from a store,
right?
And I was paying $3.99 a pound for chicken breast. When I originally went to the distributor, it was $1.44.
Whoa! So huge savings.
Huge savings. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the purchase. Did you end up buying the kitchen?
I bought the kitchen. So they were at 150. I couldn't get myself there, and so I wound up running into a friend of mine who is a pretty big commercial real estate guy.
Yeah.
And so I was telling him about my situation, and he's like, dude, just lock up the lease. If they're not going to release that, they've already kind of lapsed on their window for it. He's like, lock up the lease. He's like, if you lock up that lease, you have the build out. Tell them to take their equipment, and you can get your own equipment.
Right.
He's like, that's all, he's like, the build out's what you want.
Right.
And so he really made it apparent to me on what they were not going to be able to take, which was the big expenses. They spent $350,000 building this kitchen out.
Jeez.
So, a lot of the electrical things you can't take it.
Right.
And they, the guy that I was dealing with, the owner of this kitchen, he didn't really understand what he wasn't allowed to take. And he started threatening that he was going to rip everything out, but he couldn't.
Right.
He couldn't. It would have cost him more money to rip it out than just to leave it.
Yeah.
And so he he was going to hire an attorney. He was going to sue the place. And, I was just kind of watching this as he didn't know I was trying to buy it. Or even lock in the lease at this point.
Right.
He knew somebody was, but I was just keeping him very quiet.
Okay.
I just wanted to kind of once I had the lease locked up, then I knew I had kind of control.
Right.
And so I did. I got the lease locked up with the help of my friend. And then at that point, he knew that he just had to get this equipment out of this space by, a certain day.
Yeah.
And time kept ticking and time kept ticking and time kept ticking. And so it was about a week away from him just moving the stuff out and putting it in storage units, which he was going to leave at his office.
Right.
He was just going to try to sell it at some point, to where the real estate friend of mine started making him really low ball offers on just, hey, this guy who's taken over the space, he's interested in the equipment, but here's what he'll pay. And I stole it.
Did you say the price that you got it for?
You
don't have to.
It was a fraction
Okay.
of $150,000.
Okay. But you own it now.
So yeah, I own all the equipment. I lease the space.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. So I lease the space. So I'm in a 5-year lease. But I don't plan on going anywhere.
Got it. Okay.
I was actually looking at taking over the space next door and kind of knocking out the wall and building out my kitchen a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Just with growth and stuff.
So you said that COVID was kind of where you guys saw growth. What was the state of the business at, like, going into COVID? Were you guys doing well? Did you have any debt? Like what was it?
We've never had business debt.
Okay.
We kind of just grew really organically and slow.
Yeah.
Again, it was my side hustle. It was never going to be anything big. At least that was in my mind when we started it. And so, yeah, I never incurred debt. I bought food, I sold food, and I made a little bit of money. And then I just kept doing that. And the money and the amount that I purchased got bigger and the amount that I received got bigger. And I got to the point where, I was hiring more people. Right. And,
can we talk about that for a second? Because there's two memories I have of you and me having conversations about business. One of them was when we were at Engren Brewery in Moore Park. This is years ago.
Yeah, I don't even recall.
You must have just been like first starting the business. Okay. I think maybe you're at like $100,000 a year in revenue with the business. So I remember you saying something like that.
Okay.
But I remember you being like, we were all going to go do something. I think Jason's the one who put this together, and we're all going to go do something the next day. And you're like, I can't do that because I got to go cook all day on Sunday.
I kind of remember this. He was having, I think it was his birthday party
something
at his house
like that.
Or something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
And you're like, I couldn't go. Yeah. You're like, I have all these deliveries. I have all these meals to go cook. And then when I saw you a couple weeks ago, you're on your bike in the middle of the day at Joy in Westlake, and you're like, yeah, I work 2 days a week, and or something like that. You're like, you told me about all this time that you have available now because the business is running and it's a machine now. Was 2020 the moment where you went from like having to do so much in the business to finally setting it up where you're not really working in it anymore? You're more of just working on it?
Definitely.
Does that make sense?
So at the start of 2020, I was still personal training.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, still working.
Okay.
Yeah, still working with clients, and it kind of dwindled, quite a lot. But I still had like the people that I really enjoyed, spending my time with. They really depended on me to keep their journey going. And so I continued that, and my days got small, and I was maybe doing, if I was doing like 15 sessions a week, that would be like probably a good week.
Okay.
And so it wasn't a lot, but COVID hit, gyms closed.
Yeah.
And training stopped.
Right.
And so,
but meals went up.
Oh, meals went way up.
So why did the meals go up? Is it just people didn't want to go out to eat anymore or something, or cook?
Restaurants, you couldn't eat in a restaurant. Okay. Patio dining wasn't even like at the worst part of COVID.
Yeah.
Restaurants were closed.
Right.
That was it. They were doing takeout only.
Yeah.
And so I was set up already for no contact delivery of meals.
Right.
That was my business model.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we were always set up. We were set up for COVID, and I'm so blessed. It's kind of a crazy and sad thing to think of. I profited off of a situation that was just incredibly sad.
A lot of businesses did. It changed business in all areas.
Oh my gosh.
Man, even us, we saw, right? The work from home model, we shut down our office. We went totally virtual. We made more money. Our costs went down to operate the business. So we benefited.
I've heard that more than not.
Yeah.
A lot of people I know have benefited from COVID, whether it was scenarios like that where they were able to shut down the office, get rid of big expenses.
Yeah.
They even I have a friend of mine who was able to get rid of like half of his employees. He realized there was so much wasted time at the office that once he closed the office down and kept like a core group, he made more money with less people than he was with, and it was like,
I've heard that too. From a lot of people.
I think a lot of people, I think,
so
did better with
from
that.
A structural standpoint, what did you do to free yourself up from the business? So you weren't the one cooking, you weren't the one doing things, you weren't the ones doing deliveries. Because you said earlier, like you had your kids, you were doing the deliveries, you were trying to cook, you were doing
personal
so
training,
much.
Yeah, and I was wearing tons of hats.
Yeah, and I see you today, and like you're living your life.
I heard this a long time ago: is hire good people and get out of their way.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a long time to get there. trusting the people that I have and finding, employees that I can count on. Man, I've had people come for one day and never see them again,
Yeah.
or, book an interview and never show up. And,
Right.
and I've had guys that have been with me for 5 years. So,
Wow.
that's been the change. I haven't cooked in probably like 3 years,
That's
maybe
amazing.
for sure 2 years.
Yeah.
I haven't held a spatula. I haven't done anything remotely cooking in a couple of years.
Yeah.
I run the business. I show up early. I get to the kitchen around 4 o'clock in the morning on like our cook and pack days.
Yeah.
I like to be there. I like to be involved. I tell them how much they have to cook. So I'm still really involved in it. I could certainly hire someone to take my job.
Yeah.
I'm just not ready to like not work at all. And
yeah, well, that's the thing.
It's like the one thing I do.
That's the
I'm
best,
holding on to
that's
it.
the best thing about business is that you get to do the things you want to do. And then when you no longer want to do them anymore, you can just replace yourself.
Yeah.
But most people just never replace themselves because of trust issues or they can't find the right people.
I like to be in the kitchen. And I mean, when I'm there, I'll still take the trash out. I'll clean the bathroom. I like to be a part of the crew.
I think that's the trick. It's finding how you fit in the business in a way that you enjoy it.
Sure. But I think being a part of the team is really important too. I don't go in there and wear my boss hat and, sit back and watch the guys work. I don't cook, but I help out in other ways.
Right.
I'm very involved. I'm there. I mean, gosh, I still work. It's not unlikely that I'll work a 15-hour Sunday.
Right.
I'll do it. If I have a driver that calls out, I'm up at 2:00 in the morning on Monday.
Yeah.
And in 2 days, I'll work 24 hours.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. Like even now still.
Yeah.
But once my deliveries are done by 7:00 on Monday morning, if I have to deliver, I have the rest of Monday to be with my family, ride my bike. I have Tuesday, I work again hard on Wednesday. I've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yes, you said I work really hard 2 days a week. The other days, a few hours on the computer, shooting some emails, maybe creating a new menu item, updating the website.
But what you said earlier was, I don't remember if it was on this interview or we were talking before, but you said you built what you would call a lifestyle business.
Yes.
Where it's a business that gives you your time back. And I've always had a dream of having a Ferrari one day. And I had a Jaguar F-Type for a while, and that was fun, but it was really expensive, so we got rid of it. But and I know you've had those dreams when you were younger too. Do you still have those dreams, or are you more at a place where you're just kind of like, it's about time for you?
It's about time. Yeah. I mean, I had the dream of literally a Lamborghini and a Rolls Royce. I wanted both of those cars. I drive a Chrysler Pacifica minivan and I love it. I really love it. It's like the best car I've ever owned.
Really?
Dude.
Okay, I've refused to get a minivan, but everyone that gets one says the exact same thing.
So for me, I've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
And I'm an avid cyclist. I cycle 12 to 15 hours every week.
So you can throw all your stuff in the van.
Yeah. So I had a little car before this that I bought from my dad. We were trying to buy a house. I was trying to just get rid of like all expenses.
Yeah.
And I had to take my bike completely apart to put it in my car. And even when it was in my car fully apart, I could only put one person in the passenger seat. It was a little Hyundai.
Yeah.
And it was a pain. And so when I got this minivan, I could keep my bike completely together, roll it in the back with my kids in their captain's chairs, my wife and I in our captain's chairs. And we can go into a restaurant. I can lock my car up. My bike is safe in my car and I don't have to worry about it. And so for me, practicality wise, it's like the best thing ever. I mean, I love taking my bike with me, and having it on a rack outside of my car scares me because someone can steal it.
But I think that's what it's all about, because we've been at the same revenue level that we've been at for 2.5 years, going into our 3rd right now. And I was telling Jacqueline, like, I don't want to grow. Like I've worked so hard and I've grinded so hard, and this just works, and I'm not involved, and I have so much free time. And like, I'm not going to be buying, a mansion in Malibu anytime soon, but
I'm okay with that.
But but I'm like, but we have $1 million house, and I have like a really nice truck, and I can go basically eat anywhere I want. And like, we don't have to worry about bills. We can go on vacation wherever we want.
Sure.
And like, if this was my life, I made it. Like, there's nothing else. I don't need more stress in worry and just like hard work in my life just to have a Ferrari.
It's
Like,
just stealing time.
yeah. I'm like, and I have kids, and my son's already 8, and I'm like looking, I'm like,
How?
there's times I don't even remember like when he was 4. I'm like, I don't have a lot of memories because I was building this damn business. I'm like, I want to spend the rest of my time like with my kids.
Definitely.
And I'm like, if worst case scenario, I'm like, I'll go rent a Ferrari for a day, and
100%.
I'll do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine you're kind of in the same boat right now.
Definitely.
That's kind of what your thought process is.
Yeah. I mean, like, we have continued to grow, year after year.
You guys are at the 7-figure level now. Yeah.
Yeah. We hit that last year. And we're already on course to beat our last year's trends.
That's
so
amazing.
I'm not putting a lot of effort into growing.
Yeah.
I actually downsized our delivery area this year. We were going into like the Beverly Hills area, and it just wasn't like cost effective.
Yeah.
I didn't have like the amount of, I guess, orders there to really make the trip worth it. And I started looking at like, we basically go from Ventura, and anyone familiar with this area, Ventura to the 405.
Okay. That's a big range.
It's a pretty big range.
Yeah.
And the amount of people in that area,
It's a lot. It's
yeah.
millions.
And if I can get like 10 new customers in every city I already deliver to,
yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I don't like, that's it. I don't want to grow any more than that. I would have to change my model. I'd have to move into a different kitchen space.
It's a lot.
It would add tons of stress, tons more time. And I just, for now, I'm making enough money to pay my bills, support my family, have a lifestyle that I really enjoy. And
so you have 5 days a week off pretty much.
yeah, I do. Yeah. I'm flip-flopped.
Yeah.
Some people work 5 and have
Get
2.
two.
I
Yeah,
work
that's
2
amazing.
and have
Yeah.
5. Yeah.
So for anyone starting a business right now, what's the piece of advice you'd give them?
The thing that really I thought about was units.
Yeah.
And find something where you can sell not your time. My first business was, I guess my second business was personal training business,
Right.
and I was selling time.
Yeah.
And I was really limited to the amount of money I could make by the amount of hours I could work.
Right.
And I had Vince, I brought him up earlier. He put together this $1 million personal trainer thing on how I can make $1 million as a personal trainer.
Right.
And it was working like basically 18 hours a week and having an assistant. And it was like something that I was like, wow, it's feasible. Like this guy went home, sat on Excel and crunched out this spreadsheet on how to do it. And I was like, no, like money is not like, what, you don't even have time to spend that. Right. I mean, like if I'm working 18 hours a day, like that's just not the life I want to live.
Right.
And,
especially the kids, you never get to see your kids.
Yeah. Go back to your question. Find something you can sell units to. And one thing I kind of, people are always trying to turn passions into business.
Yeah.
And while sometimes that works, it doesn't have to be a passion.
Yeah.
My passion right now is like cycling.
Right.
And I love to cycle. And I've created a business that makes me enough money to where I can enjoy cycling.
Well, you get to enjoy your passion. Your
You get to
business
enjoy my
allows you to
passion.
deepen your passion for that.
And my son, he's he just turned 9 years old. He wants to be a professional dirt biker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that'd be awesome. Like I don't try not to like shut that dream out.
Right.
But I'm like, what if you could create a business that could allow you all the time in the world to ride a dirt bike?
Yeah.
Right. Because there's probably a small handful of dirt bikers that make money.
Yeah.
The rest of them are like, they're not making money.
Right.
And that's in the cycle world and most sports worlds, right? I mean, like there's guys that are making big money and then there's the rest. And, it's like, so that, my son is like that conversation, like the perfect example, right? Don't try to take the dirt bike and make that like your job.
Well, the thing is, you can develop. We had this conversation before the podcast. You can develop passions for things too. Like I remember Mike Rowe said it once. He's like, "Look, the guy that's making $5 million a year selling manure never grew up with a passion of manure.
Sure,
but that allows him to go explore what he wants to do. But also, he does like it. Like he likes the idea of how to get the best manure, what the chemistry looks like. And you learn it. You learn that passion, and it may not be the passion that you want to do for the rest of your life, but you're at least excited by it, where you can get up in the morning and be like, okay, let's go do this thing. Because I would imagine too is, you don't want to start a business that you absolutely hate, but I do find that when you can set up the business the right way and it frees up your time, you're like, this is the most amazing thing in the world. I think when people
I would sell shit.
yeah. When people,
yeah. No, I mean, but
yeah.
like you said, I mean, it's hard to think of someone being passionate about manure, but when you're passionate about your business,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you're selling. You're
It's
passionate about a
business
good
building.
product,
Yeah.
right? And gosh, one thing I've got to touch on is customer service. I've had like the worst like customer service over the last few weeks. It's been just awful. Like to the point, I almost in tears of like, I just can't believe where this world's gone.
Yeah.
There's just like, nobody cares,
Yeah.
you know? And I pride myself on just customer service. And I am like the face of Macro Meals. I deal with all the customers.
Right.
And I really feel like I do a good job. I don't know if you would find a person out there that would say they had a bad experience.
Right.
You know, there might be someone who had a bad meal,
Right.
but I refunded that meal. I got them a new one. Like I will 100% go out of my way to make it right.
Yeah.
I mean, I want people happy,
Yeah.
right? People that
You
either
care.
that will enjoy my product, right?
Right.
Yes, I do care. I 100% care. And, you know, providing a good product and providing the service behind that product, you know, if something were to go wrong, if their delivery didn't get delivered,
Yeah.
you know, like refund, get it the next day, like, you know, going out of my way to like make it right. And, I think that has been like probably the biggest thing of making us grow. I've got an army, small army, but I have an army of people that love my product,
Yeah.
that tell everybody.
Yeah.
I have spent
It's the best marketing. You can do.
probably total, without, we're not going to call website marketing expense. In just pure marketing, I've spent less than, in the whole course of business, less than $5,000 for sure.
Jeez.
For sure.
So it's
like
all been organic.
100%.
Wow.
Personal trainers, gyms, little bit of social media.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at social media. I actually this morning was like, all right, I got to get back on it.
Yeah.
Starting to go into the summer, people are traveling. We get a little bit slow. So I'm trying to get on top of it early and you know, get back on the social media thing. But yeah, I mean, that's a great way,
Yeah.
you know? And so just been super organic, man.
I love it. Well, good. Where can people go to like learn more about you and the company and all that stuff?
We have, you know, our Instagram is Eat Macro Meals. And then our website is www.eatmacromeals.com. Now we're based here at Westlake Village, California. And if you're anywhere in the Ventura to 405 radius and would like to check us out, we'd be happy to help you.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on today and giving me your time.
Thanks,
so
man.
I know how valuable that is. So
Yeah.
thanks for having me on. And for all you listeners out there, if you guys enjoyed this, let me know by tagging us on Instagram at I am Brandon Lucero. And if you have not left us a review over at iTunes, please do that now. The more reviews we get, the more exposure we get. The more exposure we get, the more episodes we can bring you. So head over there, do that now, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care, everyone. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested. And thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.